Hello, my name is Jana. I live in a forest and I make things. And today I want to make something new out of something old. Several years ago, many years ago, I came across a video by Missouri Star, I believe, and it showed how to make a quilt. I'm pretty sure that it was called like a picnic in a park or somewhere in a park or something like that. It was made using a jelly roll and some mixer, and here is the pattern. It's lovely and it's really easy and fun to make, and that was the first thing ever that I did about patchwork. I got myself a jelly roll, I got myself some ivory filler fabric, I cut it, I followed the instructions, and I made a quilt top. And then I put the quilt top into storage and I didn't know what's next. What do I do with the quilt top when I'm done with making the quilt top? Because the fun part for me was patchwork. I like patchwork. I still like patchwork more than I do quilting. But I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to make a quilt top into a quilt. So, for several years it just sat, for a couple of years, it sat in a cupboard doing nothing. And then I got a dog that really liked sitting on a windowsill. And I thought that I'm going to take this quilt top and turn it into 3 cushion covers for a windowsill. So I made this one, this one, and this one. And well, they are not exactly square because the windowsill is kind of a trapezoid. So I'm not sure how badly I cut the blocks when I was doing it. But I'm going to find out, because we don't live in this flat anymore. So the cushions for the windowsills, I have nowhere to put them. And I still want to be able to use this quilt top. So the plan is the following. I'm going to take it apart and reassemble it as a quilt. And I'm going to keep it for the dogs because, well, it's kind of old and faded, and it was intended for the animals to use in the beginning. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to take it apart and put it together again, make a quilt top, see how big it is. I don't know how big it is right now. See how big I want it. See how badly the blocks are damaged, because I had to make them, well, some of them are square, some of them are not. We'll see what I'm working with. Like this one is clearly narrower than this one, so not all of my blocks are intact, but I'll see what I can do with what I have. And my dogs will have another doggy quilt, which is always a good thing. An interesting thing about this particular object is that when I was making those cushion covers, I had no idea what to do, like how to quilt by hand. I didn't know. So I used some very interesting techniques. I wanted the stitches to look kind of the same on both sides for some reason. And apparently I didn't want the stitches to go through a seam. So I'll show you up close what I have, but I stitched it to a bit of fleece, so it has a little bit of body to it. And actually it feels quite nice, but I'm going to do some proper wadding, probably polyester, because this thing is not going to last for very long. But It was very, very good quality, because back in the day we could actually buy some high quality American cotton. Those days are gone, unfortunately, but yeah, now I'm going to show you the stitching on this one. I think I mentioned it in the previous video, but this is what it looks like. I did this kind of decorative stitch. It's not very even, but it did the job. It held everything together for long enough, and it went through washes and stuff. So yeah, if it works, it works. It's good enough. The plan for me right now is to take some scissors and just start snipping the stitching, like so. I'm going to take everything apart and see what I'm working with, and it's going to take a lot of time, so the plan is to enjoy some YouTube while I'm doing this, and it's going to be like a nice mindless activity for a number of days, and I'll see you when I have everything disassembled. It's a couple days later. I took the things apart and I gave them a little wash. Here's the thing, I didn't remember this because it was a very long time ago, but my blocks actually aren't square. And I was kind of making them behave by stitching them down. So I think that this level of taking it apart is not enough. I'm going to have to take it apart completely so that the blocks are separate, and maybe I might make them square. But right now I'm going to press everything and see what I'm working with, because maybe I won't do any unnecessary cutting, but I'll probably have to take it apart a lot more than this, because I want to make it kind of squarish, and to do that I need to have smaller units. I looked at the stuff while ironing, and I think I'm going to take it down to blocks, like down to, like, this is a block, down to the original stuff, because some need repairing and most of them are not square. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to take them apart and then trim them to be square and to make sure that they are all the same size. And this way I can then put them together and they're going to be nice and flat and square, and I'm not going to care too much about points meeting, because I don't think that that's going to happen, but at least it's going to lie flat, because right now it doesn't want to. So I'm off to another round of taking things apart. There's one thing that I wanted to show you, like sun damage. Those cushions have spent about 10 years on a windowsill, and you can see like this part wasn't exposed to the sun and this part was, and you can see the difference in color. And these are very high quality fabrics, so everything gets old. And I think that's the beautiful part of this quilt, because it now has some history to it and some natural variation in color due to sun exposure. Yesterday I stayed up pretty late ironing everything. Now I have some remnants of the original jelly roll, that I had. And I have a pile of partial blocks because I trimmed them to make my pillow covers. So I have some of those, and some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, some of them are almost as big as the original block, but I'm pretty sure that it was trimmed. The plan for those is I'm going to see how much I'm going to trim them down a lot and maybe try and make a couple blocks for my chaos quilt. And here are some blocks that I'm pretty sure that are complete. Nothing is square, like nothing at all. So I will have to trim them down a little. I don't know by how much. I'll see, and I'm going to make sure that they're square, and I'm going to do all the necessary repairs. And to be completely honest, trimming things down is my least favorite thing about quilting. So I'm not looking forward to this. I'm going to put my head down and probably finish this over several days. We are not going to rush it, okay? So I'm going to trim them and see just how big of a block I can get. I took a random block out of a pile and it fits my 6.5-inch ruler almost perfectly. Like there's a little bit of an overhang, so I suppose that originally it was supposed to be a 6-inch finished block, but I'm going to be cautious and I'm going to trim it down to 6 inches so that the finished block is 5.5, because this block is complete and it's big enough, but I'm not sure that that's going to be the same for the rest of this pile because some of them are significantly smaller, I think. So yeah, I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to trim it down a bit more just to be safe. And so it's going to be 6 inches, 5.5 finished. To make sure that I'm making it more or less symmetrical, I did fold the block in half and I finger pressed a little in the middle, and then I could make sure that I have the 3-inch mark and the middle mark, and to have them in the same spot. And this way I have a 6-inch block that is more or less symmetrical. I understand that those tiny bits are going to get lost in the seams, but I don't care. I'm back and I have a stack of trimmed squares. I grouped them into 4 because I need 4 to make a big block, and it looks like I'm going to have 9 big blocks because I didn't have quite enough for 12. And I have some leftovers that I didn't trim in case I need a full thing for something else, but if I need to replace something in this stack, I still have some laying around. So next step is to lay out my design on the floor. Actually, I think it's going to be small, so I'll try and do it on a bed. I'm going to try and use my vintage sewing machine for this thing. I haven't used it for any projects so far. It was in the flat. It's not very A flat is not a very good place to use what you call a treadle machine because it's kind of loud. It worked as a table basically, but now I think I'm going to try and do some tests. And if it doesn't work, you'll never see this clip. This amazing machine was made in Czechoslovakia, a country that doesn't exist anymore. And it happens to be threaded because I did some tests previously. And these types of machines, they need to be oiled before every use. And I don't know where my sewing machine oil is, but I have oiled it before the previous use. So I don't know. I'm not going to get away with it. Here's the instruction manual, printed in Czechoslovakia. Do we have any dates? Not sure. No dates visible, but it's old. The machine is old and it works fine. I had to replace the belt, I had to oil it, and that's basically it. Perfect condition. It was a gift from a friend. He said that he had an old sewing machine. He called it a Singer. And I immediately said, I really need it. And so he gave it to me. It turns out that it's not a Singer, it's a Minerva, but it still is a nice, cool little machine. So I need to check if it works. The tension is a bit off, but the machine works and it's very quiet. I didn't expect this, to be honest. Now I just need to figure out how to adjust the tension, and it's going to be cool. I think that the tension fixed itself somehow. At least a thicker fabric, it works. I've re-threaded it with my favorite gray thread, and I'm ready to go. I'm going to web the whole top in one go, I think. I'm just going to organize everything into stacks and pray. Hopefully everything's going to work out. I'm amazed how quiet the sewing machine is. It's just such a pleasure to use. Amazing. If you want a tutorial on webbing, go find it somewhere else because I'm not going to make one. But I'm going to say that once you web one block, one quilt, once you do it, if you do it once, it's going to become second nature. It's easier than it looks. kept running into issues with the machine. It kept breaking the thread, and I know that one of the problems that a machine can have is using bad thread. If you have been watching this channel, you might know that I have very strong feelings about cheap thread. I never use cheap thread, especially with a machine, so that wasn't the issue. But I'm not very clever, so I figured it out. It's something that I should have done from the very beginning. As soon as I got this machine, I should have changed the needle, but I didn't. And I changed the needle, and after that I didn't have a single problem. So this machine works like magic. It's very enjoyable. It's very quiet. It's slow. I have to start it by hand because the flywheel can go in the opposite direction if I start it with the treadle. So yeah, it has some quirks, but it's wonderful. And my seams are a little bit wobbly because I'm getting used to the machine, and sometimes they're frighteningly narrow, but I managed to have a little bit, well, sometimes it's teeny tiny like that, ridiculous, but some of the blocks have a tiny diamond in the middle. And honestly, it kind of looks okay in places like the points meet, and it's, well, a lot of the times points don't meet, but I wasn't expecting that to be even close to this because I didn't do any major surgery on the blocks, and they were all terrible. And that was my first ever patchwork project, so I'm not too mad. But what we have also discovered this week is that it doesn't really matter that much. Like, the finished pillow covers looked okay. They looked good, even though the seams were crooked. The blocks weren't square. The quilting was, to put it mildly, creatively done. And by the way, there's very cheap thread keeping those blocks together. So I broke every rule, but still they looked fine and they worked fine, and they were doing what they were supposed to do. Like, they had a purpose, and they did great doing what they were supposed to be doing, which is to be cushion covers. There's a very specific reason why I choose cotton for cushion covers. I kind of discovered it, but now I'm making puppy quilts and stuff, and if you have a lot of cat hair or dog hair, actually cleaning it from a cotton fabric with a vacuum cleaner is the most effective way to get rid of it. Like, cat hair holds on to a lot of surfaces, but with cotton, a vacuum cleaner cleans it up really well. So do recommend. That's why I like making puppy quilts like this one with cotton. And even if I have like a regular polyester dog bed, I like to cover it with the puppy quilt. This way things stay a little bit cleaner. Now I'm going to give it a press, and I think that that's going to be the end of this video for now, because I'm waiting on materials and I want to do something else in the meantime, and I don't want to wait to post it because I think it's fun. Like, these ones are especially I'm using. So I'll give it a quick press and see you there.